Lacey.
And I'm Sam.
Welcome to Monster Soup and Creature Brews, the podcast where we talk about all things monster movies, big, small, creepy, or downright ridiculous.
From movie monsters to cryptids lurking in the shadows of folklore, we're here to explore them all. So kick back, grab a snack,
Or a drink.
and let's dive into some monster-filled mayhem.
Hello, hello, hello. We are going to be recapping Anacondas, Hunt for the Blood Orchid. Dun, dun, dun.
A scientific expedition sets out for Borneo to seek out a flower called the Blood Orchid, which could grant longer life. Meanwhile, they run afoul of snakes and each other.
Explain It Badly says, a bunch of underprepared scientists go on a jungle vacation to find a magical flower that's basically jungle Botox. Instead, they find horny snakes, who are very protective of their magic garden. Things go poorly. Everyone forgets bug spray, maps, and common sense. Nature wins.
Accurate.
Yeah, that was a good Explain It Badly.
The horny part is very relevant to this movie.
It is very relevant. As we find out, this movie embraces the science behind snakes a little bit more than the first one did.
Yeah, it seems more likely the scenario that happened than the one that happened in the first movie.
Yeah, for sure.
The movie opens following what looks like a couple of tribesmen hunting a tiger. The tiger sneaks up on them and jumps over his head. He hears the hissing of a snake and he runs away. He runs through the jungle and gets caught by the snake. He stabs it a few times and it lets go. He runs and falls over a cliff, lands on the water, and he tries to swim to shore, climbs up, falls back in, struggles a bit, and then the snake gets him. And then it cuts to New York City, where a meeting is going on, and what I'm assuming is the CEO, Gordon, of a pharmaceutical research company, speaking with shareholders. Apparently, he promised them a new drug to fight everything from the common cold to cancer. They want to pull their investments out, but he has other plans. Gordon points to Jack, a researcher, to share a PowerPoint, showing the possibilities the drugs they could make if they can get their hands on a plant known as the Blood Orchid, which lies dormant for 7 years and then blooms. Now, after rewatching this, there's a couple discrepancies they have here. So, the presenter says it only blooms for 6 months, but the slide shows the bloom time is 6 weeks every 7 years.
Well, and when they're actively hunting for it, they keep saying it's only going to be in bloom for a few more weeks. It's only going to be in bloom for a few more weeks. So I think that was just a little bit of a slip up.
Yeah, it was really weird. If he only said it once, I would be like, okay, they slipped up in the script, right? He says it twice. Oh, we have like 6 months to do this, or we have 6 months to do that. And I'm like, but that slide clearly says 6 weeks.
All I'm saying is my thoughts on this is if this flower was so extremely important to your funding, to your company, to your future, why wouldn't you have been out in Borneo well before this getting a sample? You knew when it was blooming.
Well, they didn't though, right? It gets to this later, but they had like a research team that just discovered. I'm assuming they either discovered the unbloomed version of the plant and took a sample back, and then they did more research and discovered that it blooms every 7 years, and discovered that the approximate timeline is probably around this time of year.
All I'm saying is I personally feel like there was an extreme lack of planning on their starter pharmaceutical research company's part.
If there hadn't been, we wouldn't get a movie.
Fair. But I would also like to point out an of the era moment. Everybody in this board meeting is wearing the like tiny square, like rimless glasses that were popular of that era. That are pinch your nose and are horrible because they slip down and you can only see this much.
Yeah, I may or may not have worn some very tiny rectangle glasses when I was a teenager.
They're like classic professor glasses.
Yeah. I thought I looked super cool with those glasses, but I did not. Every time I look back, I'm just like, God, I look so nice.
If you looked cool as a teenager, I don't trust you. We all had our darky phases.
Well, and even the guys that were quote unquote looking cool all had the exact same hairstyle. So they were either really into the frosted tip era, where all of them had frosted tips with like gelled back hair, or they had a little punt thing in the front of their head where it's just like a little section of their hair that just stuck up. It was so stupid.
Backstreet's back, alright.
Yeah. I mean, they started all the fads. Alright. I assume with the urgency that they put this together, that they only have 6 weeks to harvest this one. Like, I'm pretty sure it meant weeks, not months. Jack goes on to explain that he had an exploratory team that brought back samples from Borneo. With that sample, they theorized that if they could get the full flower, they could create a drug that uncaps the limits of cellular life. One of the shareholders likened the drug to a pill version of the Fountain of Youth. Another states it would be bigger than Viagra. The board next asks if they have started human trials, to which Jack replies that they have not because their sample ran out before they could continue. Gordon jumps in here stating that the orchid is only in bloom for another 2 weeks. The board approved and told them to leave immediately.
If anybody ever gets offered to be made immortal, just know that there's a very well-known loophole in fantasy circles. Living forever does not mean being young.
Forever.
And I feel like that's a really important thing to acknowledge when we talk about anything to do with the Fountain of Youth.
I get what you're saying, but in theory, what this drug would do, so there's like a theory that each cell in your body only lives for X amount of time, and that's what causes aging. At least that's the theory in this universe. Now, if they uncap the cellular lifespan, you would not age as fast. So it would not help the people that are old right now, but the people growing up young, if they're constantly taking this, would in theory stay younger longer and age slower. But yes, I agree.
I think it just ends up being a recipe for being really, really, really old and decrepit for a really long time.
Oh yeah, no desire. I would be terrified that there would be side effects like that, where you're taking this pill where you got to be, 24 for like 10, 15 years, but then, either the drug slows down or stops working, or worse, has a like side effect where all your aging hits you at once.
Some things, just because you can doesn't mean you should, and I feel like this pill falls in that category.
Listen, there's lots of movies that are around that premise. They were so busy trying to figure out if they could, they never thought if they should.
Hashtag life lesson.
Right? Did they say that in Jurassic Park? I feel like they said that in Jurassic Park.
Something similar to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Malcolm.
Yeah. We next see Gordon, Jack, and a rep from the pharmaceutical company who sat in on the original meeting. As soon as she walks up, Gordon confronts her, as the pharmaceutical, asking where their boat is. He complains about their company having one job, and it was to get them a boat. She claims that it was supposed to be on his girl Sam. He fights back, saying she chartered the boat, but she was waiting for the payment to clear. Just in time, Sam walks up, stating that the payment cleared. Problem was that no boat wanted to come out because of the time of year and the weather.
We need to talk about what a bitch Gail is.
Yeah, I reference Gail quite a bit.
So the whole time during this movie, I kept rooting for her to be eaten. And spoiler alert, she lives. Other perfectly good people get eaten. Fuck Gail.
Well, my beef with Gail was that she never wanted this to succeed. So that's why it was kind of annoying. But once the going got rough, she was the only voice of reason who was like, yo, we need to stop. We need to get out of here. This isn't fun anymore. This isn't gather and leave mission anymore.
You know what my beef with Gail is? Is that she is unnecessarily nasty to everybody involved.
Yeah.
From the get-go. For no reason. And then she fucks the dude that she's the nastiest to.
Oh, yeah, no. I get to that too. Just in time, Sam walks up stating that the payment cleared. Problem was that no boat wanted to come out because of the time of year and the weather. It's raining through most of the scenes in this. All the charter companies have shut down due to the weather. The earliest they could come out would be 2 weeks, which is, of course, too late. Sam mentioned that she heard from them that a captain named Jin Soon would take anyone upriver for the right price. The gang heads up to a gambling den. I'm going to mention this now because I'm sure it's going to come up again and again. Gordon and Gail, the pharmaceutical rep who we were just talking about, have a tit for tat back and forth through the whole movie. They're constantly making quips at each other. Everyone else makes comments that they could cut the sexual tension with a knife. And like we said, they eventually do bang it out. So I guess that's a thing.
I'm going to tell you, I'm not wired that way. If I hate you, I hate you.
Right? This isn't, what is it? There's a term for it, but a hate fuck, essentially. Where I hate someone so much, but that would make the sex better. Whatever the fuck they call that.
Enemies to lovers trope?
No. I just meant they're not lovers. They both still hate each other, but they know the sex is going to be wild because they hate each other.
Yeah.
There's a term for it, but I can't remember what it is.
I'm on team if I hate your guts, I just hate your guts, and I'm actively hating you.
I would stab you before I had sex with you. If I hate you that much, that we're just quibbling all the time, that's not cute.
I don't know that I'd stab you, but I might not stop you from falling off the boat. So sad.
Or jump in to save you from a gator.
Yeah, if I'd be like, oh no, look at that anaconda. Swim faster.
To be fair, later in the movie, Gail falls in the water and gets attacked by a gator. Everyone is just roasting her. And just oh no, Gail.
Yeah,
I hope you make it out. It's so bad.
It happens when you're a bitch. People don't fish you out of the water.
But people don't like you.
Okay. Anyways, back to the actual plot.
Right. We're getting distracted. When they arrive at the gambling den, Gordon makes a joke that someone in there is definitely playing Russian roulette. To which Gail snaps, saying, well, hopefully they can give you a turn. After they ask around, they find an Asian guy who they think is Jin Soon. Jack attempts to speak to him in the native language. Trayan, the guy he's talking to, laughs at him and tells him his Indonesian sucks. He then takes him around back to the real Jin Soon, or as we come to know him as Johnson. Apparently, Jin Soon is a local nickname because of pronunciation reasons.
It's my favorite joke in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
you know what?
He's just like a red-blooded American. It's like, I am Johnson. They just know how to pronounce my name right.
That's my actually, you know what? I correct myself. That is my second favorite joke in this movie because that hit so hard in theaters when they walked around the corner and it's just some white dude named Johnson.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It's funny. He tells them $25K for the boat and $50K for him to captain the boat. Gale says no, but Johnson calls them out, saying if a charter company was willing to do it, they wouldn't be coming to him. So it's him or the highway. Take it or leave it.
Which, I mean, hits hard when you're in this super shady gambling riddle.
And I mean, obviously, they reluctantly agree, but like they really don't have a choice. So if they really want to do this, he's pretty much their only option. Back out on the docks, they get their first glimpse at the heap of a boat. It literally looks like a trash heap floating on the water.
At least it floats.
It's true, it does float. Technically, you can call it a boat. It is floating. As Gale is complaining, a taxi pulls up and Cole comes out carrying a lot of equipment. He apparently got held up in customs because of all of his equipment. As he's complaining to Sam, she says it was all worth it. Or would he rather be back in the office? Without hesitation, he says, hell yeah, be back in the office. Apparently, he had courtside seats to Madison Square Garden. Shortly after Cole arrives, we get introduced to Dr. Ben Douglas, who seems to be interested in Sam. He makes a very skeezy comment about, like, oh, I'm going to get that. And Cole just laughs at him because he's like, good luck.
Cole's my favorite character in this movie because Cole says what the average person would be thinking in these situations.
Yeah,
I think.
I love Cole's archetype in horror movies, the realist. He's the only person who freaks out at the right moments. Like, everyone else is all calm and whatever. And he's like, no! He just got eaten by a snake! How are you guys not freaking out? There's a giant freaking snake out there. And I'm like, how is everybody else? Okay, Captain Johnson, cool. He's special forces. He's seen some shit. I can understand him being calm. The rest of the crew just being like, the other guy's dead. Yeah. I'm just like, okay, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he definitely speaks like most of us. If we got out of our taxi cab and it's pouring rain and has been for days and we're getting on a floating rust bucket, would be like, I should have gone to the game.
Yeah, I shouldn't have come. That's why I was just saying, it's like, you wouldn't rather be back in the office, right? No, I would rather be back in the office, thank you.
I have a fairly adventurous spirit, and even I would look at that and hesitate.
Yeah, no. Especially during, one, rainy season, so we know we're already kind of in for it. Two, we're like in the middle of Borneo, middle of nowhere, and we're floating in a rust bucket, going to who knows where, to like the flower that might not be there. We think it's there, but we don't really know. We ain't been there. They all get on the boat, and the boat takes off down the river. Jack lays out a map showing Captain Johnson where their team last located the Orchid and their current destination. He says it took their team about 3 days to get upriver. Johnson lets him know that was before the rainy season. It's very dangerous now, and he can get them there fast, or he can get them there safely. He did add an important caveat. If he doesn't like what he sees when they go upriver, he's going to change their course. He states that you can't plot the fastest route before you're on the river. Cole interjects and begs to differ. On his computer, he shows that with satellite GPS, they can, in fact, plot the fastest route. He shows the fastest route and overlays the weather patterns over the past 10 years and get an approximate fastest, safest route, very similar to the new tech from Twister. You know how like the group from Twister had all this technology where they can track all the storms and all this stuff, but then you have like weather sensors who are just better at it.
I liked that movie.
It was a good movie.
It was really campy, but I liked it, and it had a banging album.
Yeah, soundtrack was really good. It cuts to Gale, who's already less than thrilled with their accommodations, and sees that the bathroom on board is just a toilet seat that opens up to the river. Which I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it's not that much different than a plane, right? Like, your toilet just empties out. It's like, why are you worried about it? And it would be...
I thought there was a tank on a plane. Is there not a tank? Is there just poop in the air?
No, there is a septic it goes to.
Oh,
but I mean,
God.
you can't see where it's going, is what I mean.
But can you imagine, though, if you were driving your car and there's just a splat?
I mean, once upon a time, they might have actually done some shit like that.
Somebody had like a rumbly tummy on like their Southwest flight.
Right, and just streamlined it.
Yeah, I think I might just drink a lot of Imodium and not eat on this trip.
But I'm not gonna lie, that scene I was just kind of like, I'd be terrified something would jump out of the water and just like snip
Well, I mean,
at me.
considering what this movie's about, that's a valid fear.
Yeah, well, because you can see the river from the toilet seat.
My mother worked in animal services in Florida for many years, and I can tell you that snakes in the toilet, unfortunately, is an actual
it's a thing.
thing.
No, it's a thing. It's a thing out here. Because snakes will get in your pipes.
Yeah.
And they'll come out through your toilet seat, your toilet.
Now, like, this isn't the same thing. The boat is moving, but irrationally, I would think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe while you're trying to go.
I mean, it's true.
It'd be all airy.
Right? Where you get a little splash out.
A natural bidet.
Yeah.
Gross. Sorry, everyone.
She heads to her room and she starts unpacking. She hears a sound in the cabinet, and when she opens it, a monkey climbs out and jumps around. She freaks out and runs right into Gordon's arms after he calms her down. Johnson comes over to look at what's going on, and it turns out it's Kong, Johnson's pet monkey. After more sexual tension between Gil and Gordon, it flips to another scene where both Gil and Gordon are trying to talk on what I'm assuming are satellite phones. It's hard to tell because this is from like 2004, so satellite phones look different now than they did back then.
I think they're satellite phones only because they look like the phones in the original Jurassic Park, and I'm a big fan of it.
Also, phones working out in the middle of the forest in Borneo are probably satellite phones, simply because you can't. Cell phones were so new back then. Even if they have cell towers out there now, they definitely didn't back then.
No, so they're satellite phones for sure.
But I can't, I even said this, because I can't imagine there being cell phones in the river in 2004. They're probably satellite phones. Mirroring each other while they're both on the phone, they both lose signal and cuss at the same time. Jack and Sam are poring over a map discussing areas to search, where Dr. Ben snaps a picture of Sam. He then proceeds to chat her up and saying stuff like, I'm single, you're single, you know, we can try it out. If it doesn't work, no commitments speech. Sam smirks and asks Jack if she's going to have to deal with this for the next 2 weeks. And he gives her a quick yep and then goes back to looking at the maps. Gail and Sam are having drinks in the kitchen of the ship. This is a whole other scene. They just flip back and forth. Gail pretty much accuses Sam of only getting her job by implying she slept with Jack. Or that it's only because she's like a pretty blonde girl. Back at the dinner table, Johnson catches Kong trying to steal some bananas. When he gets shooed away, Kong goes to the top of the boat and jumps on a nearby tree trying to get some fruit. In case I didn't make it clear, Kong is the pet monkey. The boat goes a little too far for him to jump back on, and the camera follows Kong trying to catch up with the boat. We hear hissing, and then we see Kong bolt, trying to run away. It runs into a hollow log, and then we see our first anaconda. It continues to chase Kong, who climbs as high into a tree as he can. The crew hears a loud screech and asks what it is, and ironically, it's Johnson who states, oh, that's probably something being eaten. It's a jungle. Everyone gets eaten out here. The next morning, we see Johnson trying to find Kong, and Gail is back on her phone trying to get reception. And we get the Verizon line. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Gail leans against the side of the boat and accidentally opens like a side door and makes her fall into the river. She cuts herself on something, and we see blood in the water. Johnson holds onto an oar and tries to get her to grab onto it. Gail gets attacked by an alligator in the water, and Johnson dives in with a knife, kills the gator with the knife, and then manages to climb back onto the boat and ask Gail if she's okay. You know what this bitch says? She says, I lost my phone. Gail is grade A through the whole movie.
She plays her character well.
Very well.
But I think that was actually probably a crocodile.
Most likely. Yeah, I think later he says crocodile. I don't think alligators are...
I think we say alligator because of where we're from. That's what our minds
If I'm being
go
honest,
to.
I said alligator because I looked at it and it didn't have the characteristics of a crocodile. But I'm sure native to that actual area, it would more likely be a crocodile than an alligator.
Speaking of things that are native to that area, would you like to know the funniest fact about this movie?
Oh, shoot.
Anacondas don't live in Borneo.
Oh, for sure. I didn't think they did.
They could have picked any random South American country where anacondas do live and been way more accurate to this, but for some reason they chose to make it Borneo, where they are not native to. So these are invasive,
Right?
giant magic anacondas.
We'll find out why later, but I'll get to that. The group takes shots around the table, all to Gail surviving. I mean, they're making jokes about her not getting eaten by a crocodile, but, you know. They all take their shots. Johnson asks the group if doing all this for the flower was worth it, since Gail was almost eaten and all. Gordon goes on to talk about how much money they could make if they could sell this pill. Gail interjects that even if they have a field full of these flowers, she doesn't think it'll ever get past human trials. Kong jumps down from the boat, screaming. Everyone is curious at what got the monkey so spooked. The next scene is with Jack and Sam talking about whether they can really get into human trials. Jack lets her know that it doesn't matter because he spoke with Gordon and everyone is getting stock options if they get the flower back in the pharmaceutical company. They could just sell the stock and be good to go whether or not they actually successfully make the drug. Jack says, regardless though, it's all thanks to her research, otherwise they wouldn't be where they were. Jack leans in to kiss Sam as she stops him, saying she thought they decided against this. He shrugs it off, saying it would be fun though. Sam asks him is that why she's here? So he can get one more try. Jack insists that if it was because she's the best researcher. Johnson steps in and asks to talk with Jack. Johnson lets him know that the constant rain is causing the water levels to rise, and it's getting kind of dangerous, and they might want to turn around. They can go another way, but it can take up to 2 or more days. Jack says they can't lose that time. Johnson says, more money or no go. Jack says, I got you. I'm willing to pay this out of pocket. Johnson says, deal, and they shake on it.
I just want to say that, like, this is, I think, one of the moments in this movie where someone steps out of their character, though, because you can't spend that money if you're dead, right?
Facts.
He's made it pretty clear that he has a good feel for this river, so to go against that for the money, I just feel like it's kind of a little outside of his character.
It didn't really make sense, especially because he's so gung-ho about making sure everybody gets back safe.
Yeah.
Like, he was very adamant he was going to try really hard to get everyone back safe, because he could have easily, like, abandoned it.
So I feel like what would have been more on par with his character is if he just decided to take the 2-day longer route.
Without saying anything.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to know the difference.
No. That is one of the few moments in this movie where a character kind of steps outside of what I feel like was supposed to be their character norm. I mean, granted, it drove the plot, but I feel like they could have accomplished it a different way.
I agree with you, but to this point in the movie, we don't actually know that about Johnson. Because all we know is he's willing to do anything for money. Even if it's a little dangerous.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's one of the moments in this movie that felt a little off.
Well, yeah, especially if you watched it once and you see Johnson's character later in the movie, you're just like, why did he make this decision? It doesn't really add up.
I mean, he does have a really shitty boat, but he's making $50,000 if he gets him there safely. So
right,
dead men don't pay bills.
That's true. Gordon and Gail have a very flirty convo about their companies, and she mentions she likes science. And he asks her then why is she at the financial branch, and she says, I like science, but I like money more. And then they drink together. And it's kind of implied that they may or may not have done something here. Later, it's confirmed, but we'll get to that. Johnson wakes up because the boat is bumping into things and just little thuds. He gets up and goes to the helm where he sees logs and branches all in the river. The river's flooded when a loud sound reaches the helm. Johnson curses and starts waking everybody up. And this is where we see Gordon and Gail exiting a room together and trying to put on their clothes. Johnson checks on the engine, and he says it's blown a head gasket. And I swear to God, I feel like they use this excuse whenever any engine in any move-in has any kind of malfunction. They're like, oh, it blew a head gasket. Do the directors even know what happens when an engine blows a head gasket? Because I feel like they don't.
Oh, and it's totally fine for people like me who don't know the difference. Meant nothing to me. Boat's in trouble. Bad boat.
I just think it's funny that that's the, like, go-to excuse. I mean, I feel like it's different nowadays, but, like, if you watch any movie with any kind of malfunctioning engine from, like, the early 2000s or early 90s, oh, it's a head gasket. I was like, how bad are head gaskets?
I feel like you could accomplish the same message by just the character swearing and then showing steam. You don't even gotta say what's wrong. You can just imply it's wrong.
Johnson attempts to turn the boat, but claims the current is too strong. They miss their turnoff and are now headed for the waterfall. Trent tells everyone to hang on, and the boat goes over. This is why the term was important. There's a fucking waterfall.
A big waterfall.
Everyone somehow survives the crash and swims to shore. Sam, the last one to make it to safety, sure makes it out just before an anaconda was going to get her. We see it swim away as everyone yells about the whole situation. The only equipment that still works is one of the satellite phones. The map, somehow, magically, also survives. And Johnson shows where he has a friend that's on the river. The map somehow also survives. And Johnson shows where he has a friend on the river. He says if they bushwhack, they can shave a day off the journey, continue the expedition, and get on his friend's boat in approximately 10 hours. Johnson calls his friend, who extorts him for $5,000, and also makes some really concerning comments about his wife.
Oh no, he murdered his wife.
How do we know that?
Just implying from the concerning comments that she's not a problem anymore, and then it shows the gun.
Yeah, he says his wife is long gone. Long gone.
How do you not think he murdered her? He murdered that woman.
They could have just got divorced.
No. It is heavily implied that poor Susan, and I'm assuming her name is Susan, is murdered.
Very well. Susan's dead out there somewhere. So the hike begins. Everyone has funny quips as they're hiking. My two favorite are Gordon. It's like doing a Stairmaster in a sauna. Coles. I might die of heat stroke, but I will have a nice tight ass.
That's fair.
More hiking in random manner later. They come across an issue. The area they're supposed to hike across is flooded, so they have to wade through the water or risk losing more days going around. They can't see it, but we can see a giant anaconda swimming in between them. Sam notices something swimming in the river, but they just disregard it. Cole feels something moving as well, and Ben and Johnson tell him that there's probably tons of things in the water and he needs to get over it. Dr. Ben very ominously starts humming the Jaws theme song and freaks out Gale.
Dun, dun, dun. It's a real dick move.
Dun, dun.
Karma's a bitch, or in this case, a snake.
Yep, because Ben thinks he's funny doing the Jaws thing to freak out Gale. Well, not long after that, he gets yanked underwater, and everyone starts calling out to him, trying to find him. Then they see him being pulled back and forth in the water, and then he stops and gets grabbed by the giant snake and gets whipped back and forth until he's dragged underwater. The gang runs to get out of the water, and Cole, like I said, the only sane person having a regular reaction to this situation, is crashing out pretty hard. He's trying to figure out what the fuck that was and what the fuck happened. Johnson tells him it's an anaconda, which, as we know now, anacondas not being native to this area at all. I'm trying to figure out how he knows that.
I mean, like, I would recognize an anaconda. Maybe he's just seen them.
Maybe. Cole refuses to believe that a snake can be that big. Cole continues to freak out and is talking about how they're all going to die.
Yeah, he's having a full-blown, like, level 10 meltdown.
Yeah, he is freaking out here. Johnson tells them that anacondas are extremely territorial and they're unlikely to find one of that size again. TLDR, they find more. Gordon points out what's stopping the one that just ate Ben from coming after them. And, as we learned from our creature feature, Johnson mentions it would take weeks for an anaconda to digest that meal, possibly even longer given its size and the size of the meal. Johnson tells them that the safest thing they can do right now is to get to that boat. Gale agrees and gets up to leave when Jack stops her and talks about how that flower won't bloom again for 7 years. They can't just give up. She laughs at him and says the expedition is over. Gordon tells her to calm down and explains there's a lot of money at stake here. She says she doesn't care, and on behalf of her company, she says it's over. Jack tells her, we're in the jungle. Your authority is what we say it is. Cole pipes up and says, nah, I need to get out of here. I'm with her. Jack tries to guilt trip everyone, saying that if they don't get that flower, Ben would have died for nothing. Sam tells everyone, let's get back to the boat, regroup, and then make the decision. Johnson holds Jack back and tells him that once they get to the boat, he's not continuing the expedition, he's taking everyone back. One person is already dead, he's not continuing anymore. He's going to make sure that everyone gets back safely. Sam tells Jack that they need to get back, and he refuses to let anyone stop him. He also makes a comment about that if he can offer that money that he originally offered to Johnson, there's no way the boat or the captain of the other boat won't take that offer, which is probably valid, seeing as Livingston was trying to extort him. There's a good chance that he would also take this offer. As they are back hiking through the jungle, Cole is ranting about how anacondas kill for sport. And this is the reference we talked about from the first movie.
And this is my favorite quote in the movie, number one quote.
Yeah, he's like, I knew a guy who did a documentary in the Amazon and how the whole crew got eaten by a giant anaconda.
And he's still just, like, actively freaking out his whole time on this hike.
Yeah, he won't shut up. He just keeps talking.
Which, fair, but at a certain point I'd have been like, dude.
Shut the fuck up.
Like, it all sucks, we're aware.
Right? We're not fixing anything or solving anything by complaining about it.
I have a cousin who shall not be named, who I love dearly, who has a tendency to do this. And there gets to be a certain point where the rest of us cousins would just clock him.
They keep walking, and Jordan notices something on Cole's neck. Cole freaks out because he feels something on his neck. Johnson walks over, tells him to calm down, it's just a leech. He burns it off with a lighter, and before Cole can relax, Johnson lifts up his shirt to uncover a ton of leeches on his back. Barry, stand by me, as I know that the right movie now for the leech reference.
It's not the Goonies, as we talked about in a previous podcast.
Yeah. Everyone stops to rest, and Gordon takes off his boot to rub his feet. And by the way, his feet look busted throughout this whole movie. Gordon takes off his boot to rub his feet, and just when he's about to put it back on, Trim stops him and grabs his boot. He knocks the boot on a log, and a very poorly CGI'd spider falls out of it. Like, I mean, worse than the spider in Spider-Man that bites Tobey Maguire. It's pretty atrocious. He tells him that if he had gotten bitten by this spider, he'd be paralyzed for 2 days. Tran called it the stone spider. Jack catches it, and Gordon tells him that they can make a lot of money off of this. Johnson's friend, who's coming out of the boat, hits something, and he looks over the edge, and he sees the snake. He freaks out and tries to get his gun out of a pelican case. The snake gets him first, and while he's trying to reach for something, he hits the throttle on his boat. It zooms ahead and explodes while he gets eaten by a snake. The giant explosion is heard by the crew, and they head to where they heard it. They discover a liquor bottle in their wreckage and assume he got drunk and crashed. They search the wreckage and find a flashlight and a radio that Cole tries to get a hold of someone on. The camera pans to a pelican case where Livingston had a satellite phone and gun. Train tells the crew after searching the beach that they must be near a headhunter village, and instead of walking away from the headhunter village, they decide to head towards it despite Cole's protest. They find the body of Livingston, who was clearly eaten by another giant anaconda. Johnson thinks that it's not the same snake, and that if it's not the same snake, it could be mating season, which would attract a lot more to the area. The group enters an ancient burial ground of the headhunters, where they see a giant snake has been killed and ripped open. They can see bodies hanging outside of the openings of the snake. The headhunters have taken all of the boats, and the snakes have already gone through that area. Johnson comes up with a plan to build a boat using the huts of the headhunters. Insert building montage. They spend like 5-10 minutes ripping apart buildings and building a boat. While everyone is building, Jack discovers a mural with the Blood Orchid. He thinks the reason the snakes are so big is because anacondas never stop growing. If the Blood Orchids is a part of the food chain, the snakes can essentially live significantly longer and get to the size that they are.
Which is a wild leap from some carvings that could have just purely been decorative.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they've seen this flower and they like the look of it, so they have a mural.
If they do live in that cove, like maybe they're just warning people the Magic Flower Cove is full of giant snakes.
Yeah. Jack opens a map and shows the group that they are just downriver over where the orchids grow. Gail puts her foot down and says no. They're not. They're going downriver, not upriver. She's not waiting another week to take a bath. Even Gordon tries to reason with Jack, saying that it's better if they try again in 7 years. Jack gives a passionate speech to try to convince everyone, and no one's on board anymore.
Even the most adventurous people would get to where they would feel that it was not worth it. Because, first of all, they still don't know what these flowers technically are. They could be searching for days. That one dude has ulcers all over the bottom of his feet. Everybody's hungry, tired. Cole lost some blood to some leeches.
And there's already 2 people dead.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where I think even the most adventurous, gung-ho person would just...
Cut your losses.
Would, at a certain point, be like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's not working.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. We can come back better prepared 7 years from now.
Right? Because we already know the area. We have a better judge of the time frame. We can actually just send people down here a year in advance to have everything ready for when they bloom.
Be prepared for the snakes.
Right?
That's a fun... That apparently the original research team didn't run into.
Oh, they got lucky. Oh, it wasn't mating season, so they just dodged them.
I mean, mating season usually happens once a year, so I think they just got lucky.
Well, they probably got there earlier in the year when
Maybe.
it wasn't. Yeah. Jack tries to tell everyone it's his expedition they're going on. Even Sam at this point tells him no. Sam points out that 2 people have died, and Jack continues anyway. Then Sam drops the bombshell that no one else knew. When Johnson tried to take them on a different route, Jack paid him to stay on course so they could save time. No one else knew about this, so they all looked at Jack for an explanation. He squares up with Sam and tells her, "You're my assistant. I don't have to consult you. I'm the authority here." And Sam throws his previous line that he gave to Gale back in his face. "We're in the jungle, Jack. Your authority is what we say it is."
Do you think maybe he was just really hangry?
Possibly.
Every time I watch this movie, when he goes fully unhinged, I'm like, maybe this is just who he is when he's hungry.
They manage to build a raft out of what looks like a lot of bamboo and logs, and Sam hits on Johnson and tells her his story. They make googly eyes at each other, and then that's it. Gordon, looking for fresh thoughts, is going through Jack's bag. He discovers Livingston's pelican case that has the satellite phone and the gun. Jack has been hiding it from everyone. Gordon asks Jack why he didn't tell us about this. Jack admits he knew that if they made the call, the expedition would be over. He tries to convince Gordon not to make the call, and entices him with the prospect of the money they could make. Gordon says, "Nah, I want to live." Jack throws a stone spider at Gordon, and it bites him. Gordon collapses, and he tries to get away, but he can't shout, and he can only whisper. The crew is still putting together the boat, and Jack comes down, and they ask about Gordon. He says, "Oh, he's resting." Sam goes to check on Gordon, and she finds him trying to tell her something, but he can't talk. She notices he's trying to look at something, and she sees the spider bite and goes out to confront Jack. Little does she know that the anaconda had just locked eyes with Gordon, but it seems to ignore him because he was paralyzed. Sam confronts Jack in front of everyone, and Jack claims he didn't know anything when they noticed Gordon being swallowed by the anaconda. Johnson set the pavilion that Gordon was sitting on fire, and they head back to the raft just in time to see Jack rolling off with the raft. Sam wants to intercept Jack by going through the jungle to cut him off and get the raft back. Jack makes a call on the satellite phone and tells the authorities that he's the only one who survived a trip over the waterfall, and he tells them his location. The rest of the crew is trekking through the jungle when they hear hissing and realize that the snake has been trying to separate them.
I don't think that that's accurate. I think it was just being a snake.
Probably.
And I think they're in full panic mode.
Oh yeah, there's definitely paranoia.
I'm most mad in this movie about Gordon's death. He did not deserve to go out like that.
Not like that. If he was going to die, that wasn't the way to do it.
To be frozen, unable to even try to run, and see the snake like up above you in the rafters, that's a true horror movie moment.
Right? And somehow, Sam dodged a bullet, though, because the snake was there while she was still talking to Gordon, and Gordon's is like trying to signal to her, and she mistakes that for him trying to look at the snake bite. So she sees the snake bite, and she's like...
Spider bite.
A spider bite, sorry. She sees a spider bite and immediately leaves. But if she hadn't, she probably would have got attacked by the snake. Because the snake seemed to ignore Gordon until Sam left.
See, I sort of thought that it was like gearing up. Because it was in the rafters. It was like...
Yeah, it was like coiling up. Yeah.
Was how I was reading that. But either way, it eats him eventually.
Yeah.
A nice stationary num-num.
The rest of the crew is trekking through the jungle when they hear hissing and realize the snake has been trying to separate them. They want to hide, but Tran tells them they can sense our body heat. There's no point. They make a run for it and fall into a cave. Cole drops his flashlight and falls behind the group. They get separated. He calls out trying to get back to the group, and he discovers tons of skeletons when he starts screaming. Tran discovers him while he's screaming and then tries to make their way back to the group. Tran falls into a hole that puts him into like an underwater gully. So he's like...
This part of the movie is a little visually confusing because it's very dark.
Well, they're like in a cave, and he falls through like... It's kind of like falling into the ice, where he falls into a hole where there's nothing but rocks surrounding him. So he's trying to find where the hole is.
Yeah, I assumed it was more of a sinkhole situation, though.
Oh, no, it's just a clear hole, because Cole manages to find the hole, because he can't see because it's dark, but like Tran's light comes back up at it when Johnson goes to look for them.
Yeah, it's... Either way, Tran's actually doing okay for a minute. Like, he's finding air pockets. He's looking for, the portal back to the surface.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with the word portal. I'm fine with that.
Tran falls into a hole. He can't find his way back up, and he gets eaten by a snake. And the only thing that's left is his flashlight, which floats back up. And Cole freaks out, starts running.
Yes, because the flashlight illuminates blood.
A little bit. Johnson discovers Tran's light and the bloody water. Gail and Sam discover a way out of the cave, and they meet back up with Johnson. They head towards the exit when they hear Cole. He catches back up with them, but so does the snake. They try to reach the exit before the snake can get them. Sam, Gail, and Johnson all make it out, but Cole gets stuck on the exit. They manage to yank him out, and Sam picks up Johnson's machete and chops off the head of the snake that had just popped through the hole. Cole pops off, praising Sam for her samurai action, and then another snake comes out of the hole and snatches him up. Johnson chases after him and sees Cole being coiled up by the anaconda. He throws a knife at his head and manages to kill the snake. Cole falls off and gets knocked unconscious. They manage to resuscitate him.
The way he wakes up is so accurate, too.
Facts. I would be disoriented, too.
Where he's like, get it off, get it off, get it off.
I would freak out like that, too. Back with Jack, he lands the raft in the area next to the Blood Orchid. He finds tons of them just off the edge of the shore. The gang discovers Jack, but they ignore him and head towards the raft. Sam pulls out the stone spider and figures out what happened to Gordon. Jack goes back to the raft and pulls out a gun on them. Johnson tries to pull his knife out, but gets shot in the arm by Jack and left behind. Jack forces them all next to a snake pit with a mating ball in it. A snake mating ball.
30 snakes just all, like, whirling together.
What do they call it? A snake orgy?
Yeah, it's pretty much happening.
Jack forces Gail to tie up Cole. Jack hands a bag to Sam and tells her to fill it up with orchids. The orchids are all on the edge of the snake pit, all across what looks like a trellis. I know it's just like jungle wall or whatever, but it looks like a trellis.
It does suspiciously look like a very organized trellis.
Yeah. The orchids are all on the edge of the snake pit. Sam fills the bag up with orchids and heads back across the pit. She almost falls in and almost loses the bag of orchids. Jack tells her to throw the bag up, and she throws it, and just as Jack catches it, Johnson flies in, knocking him off his feet and dropping the bag onto a branch on the edge of the pit. Jack manages to knock down Johnson and head for the bag. The others manage to save Sam, and Jack gets the bag. But he didn't notice that the stone spider had crawled onto the bag. He gets bitten and falls into the pit. And just as they had gotten Sam up, she falls back into the pit. Jack gets attacked by all the snakes, giving Sam time to get back out of the pit. Sam is followed by one of the snakes out of the pit, and Gale tricks the snake into biting onto a gas canister, and Cole grabs a flare gun and shoots it at the snake. This causes the snake to catch fire and then eventually explode, which inadvertently causes all of the snake pit to be buried. Sam, Gil, Johnson, and Cole take the raft back downriver, and we get credits.
Can you imagine how awkward it would have been if Jack had managed to get the backpack of, like, let's say, hypothetically, let's say that the group arrives to the snake orgy slightly later. Jack has already filled up his backpack with orchid flowers. He's come back to the raft. They meet up. There'd be no reason for him to be crazy aggressive. How awkward would that boat ride back have been?
Oh, that would have been hella awkward.
Because at that point, Sam didn't know that he murdered Gordon. She just thought he was unfortunately eaten by a snake.
Yeah.
I mean, she assumed, but she didn't know for sure.
If they could have found a way to separate the gun from Jack, I feel like they would have just killed Jack. Regardless.
I like imagining that they just awkwardly ride back on the raft boat together.
And then get
silence.
And then get really rich.
In silence. And, like, in traumatized silence.
Well, I'm also really curious. Who takes over the pharmaceutical company from Gordon? Or the research company from Gordon?
Well, I think that they're just going to be that company's just going to go bankrupt because they were pulling their funding at that initial meeting before they were like, no, we have a magic flower.
Well, I mean, if they get the flowers, though, they can technically continue the research. But it didn't seem like either Jack or Sam had any investments in the company. So I'm curious, like, if someone else takes over and they have no desire to continue this, like, what do you do? Do you take these to another company? I mean, I'm sure there's a way out, but I always think about those kind of things, even though it's just a movie and fictional.
Yeah, I think they went out of business.
By the way, did you know there's an Anaconda 3 and 4?
I did not know that.
I did not know that either until I was looking up the cast for this one, and it popped up 3 and 4, and I was like, they made other ones?
They can't be good.
They can't be good.
It
has to be like a Tremors situation where
it just gets progressively worse.
Well, I know Hunt of the Blood Orchid did really well in the box office, much more so than the original Anaconda. Because this one, actually, they had to fight to get it greenlit. Because the first one didn't really. It had a stellar, like a star-studded cast, and it essentially flopped. It barely made back its money. The second one did like triple of whatever the budget was, so it kind of was in the green.
I do feel like on this note, since we are talking about Anaconda movies, it came to our attention after we had already watched the first Anaconda movie.
And recorded.
And recorded that they are doing a
reboot, comedy spoof reboot.
Yeah, sort of. It's focused on Jack Black and Paul Rudd remaking the original Anaconda movie. But it looks hilarious. We will absolutely be watching it. I hope everybody listening to this goes and sees it too, because it looks... You know what? I'll watch anything with Jack Black.
True, he's just funny.
He's a great actor.
He's just super goofy too. So like, even if the movie is like a scary movie, it's still gonna be funny. That's why it's like a comedy horror movie.
No, I feel like it's gonna be along the lines of Grabbers.
Oh, probably very similar.
Yeah, or it has some
like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, it has some jump moments, but overall it's really funny. All right, Sam, what's your rating on this movie?
Oh, this one's way better than the first one. I'd probably give it like a B+. It's a good watch. Again, it's not something I would probably go out of my way to own, but I'm more than happy to own it digitally.
So for me, this movie does rate an A-. It's decent. The storyline isn't bad. There's some unfortunate inconsistencies, but this genre just has them. You don't get away from this.
Yeah, there's no getting around that.
You just sort of learn to love the movie with the inconsistencies, but for me, it's nostalgic. I got to see this in theaters with my cousin. I enjoy watching this one. It brings back good memories.
Yeah, I like this one way better than the first one.
I think if I was to take the nostalgia out of it and just the general enjoyment of the film, maybe more of a B for me.
What's funny too about this one is like, there's maybe like, the guy who plays Gordon Mitchell, It's probably the only actor I actually recognized. I didn't recognize any of the other actors.
No.
And this one did way better when the first movie had like J-Lo, Ice Cube, John Vo, a bunch of recognizable names. By the way, you know what I didn't know? John Vo, the guy who plays the priest.
Priest Paul, yeah.
Yeah. Is Angelina Jolie's father.
Oh.
Yeah.
We don't follow celebrities. I had
At
no
all.
idea.
I mean, look at their names. How was I supposed to know that? Because their names aren't even... And I've only seen him in like maybe a handful of movies. I actually... Originally, I mistaken him with... There's a different guy he kind of looks like.
Do you know what movie I know him from that would bring shame upon my family because it's not a super star-studded cast, but it is what I know him from?
Who?
Kangaroo Jack.
He is in Kangaroo Jack.
He is in Kangaroo Jack, and he plays a gangster in that movie, an Australian gangster. No, not Australian. No, he's from Brooklyn, a Brooklyn gangster.
Yeah. When I was younger, I didn't know that him and Christopher Walken were two different people. So it wasn't like I got older that I was like, oh, they're not the same guy. But they look very similar and they kind of play similar roles when they play movies.
I don't know who Christopher Walken is. That name means nothing to me.
Oh, you know him. Hold on.
I might recognize his face, but I don't recognize the name. To be fair, I'm going to repeat, I don't recognize any names. Oh, yeah, he kind of does.
Yeah.
Is he the guy in Kangaroo Jack?
No. No, John Vo is in Kangaroo Jack.
Okay, good. Which, by the way, that is not a monster spoof, but that is a really good, cute family watch if you guys are looking for something to watch with your kids. That one's a pretty cute one.
Oh, I lied. Christopher Walken is in Kangaroo Jack.
Oh my god,
so you got him mixed
so
up.
I have the same problem as you.
Yeah.
We do not have a MonsterVerse moment tonight. I thought about writing one, but I've already covered leeches. I've already covered anacondas. I briefly looked into how evil pharmaceutical companies are, but that is way deeper than a dive than I want to do.
Yeah, that's a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's a very deep dive, and that's a little more in-depth than what I want to cover on our podcast. I am sure there are others that have done it and can do it better than what I would be able to cover.
It's a little too politically charged of a topic.
I mean, I feel like it's really well known that they are, in fact, evil. It's just just even beginning to sort of, peel that back.
Yeah. Go watch a Netflix documentary. I'm sure they'll cover it.
It's a very layered onion. And then I kind of thought about doing one on orchids, but I lost interest 10 minutes in. I'm just going to be honest. I lost interest and decided to watch Summer House with Sam instead. So there is no MonsterVerse moment tonight, but there will be one next week. And if you like what you heard, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Later.